Hey, good to see you again. The factory sent over the parts that were looking good on the rig. They're being fitted as we speak. Have a look at the report.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2017 Career Mode, episode number 139 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 7. And for the first time in a while, we start off an episode with a new part fitted to the car. I actually completely forgot about this part, I'm not going to lie. It didn't even cross my mind that it was coming, but I guess we upgraded this car, upgraded the car and purchased this part about 4 episodes ago, which is the fuel efficiency, which has been an issue for us. I mean, we've had to fill up quite a bit of fuel every single race, because using the rich mix and using the most important part of the car, which has been the engine power, to good use in the race has meant that we do go through a lot of fuel. So I guess my thinking 4 races ago was that might have been useful, but the fact it was a major upgrade obviously means that it took 4 episodes to get here. So it's a little bit useless because there's only 2 episodes left of the season, you know, Brazil and then Abu Dhabi. But at Brazil, I guess it will come in handy. Of course, you know, the climb up the hill using the rich mix there, you know, letting the car climb up there with rich mix is going to be you know, quite a challenge and burn a lot of fuel. And in general, obviously at Brazil, the AI have been pretty good and consistent, and for me especially, I lose a lot of time in the first 2 corners especially, and so when you go through to the runoff onto the first DRS point on the track in the first sector, using rich mix there is also good to try and get off that corner, and so the fuel efficiency is going to come in handy in terms of obviously just using less fuel as we do it, so we can afford to either fill up more fuel or fill up the same amount we have been doing, but we don't need to fuel save as much through the races we have done in previous episodes maybe. But you could see there, still looking good to use every single part of the engine without having to bring a brand new column to it essentially, and we're only 1 episode away after this one, so I think we should successfully tick the box for this kind of quote-unquote challenge we've been trying of not using an extra column and taking a penalty for our car for the race. But that might be a different case for my teammate, as you may see later. But you can see there, it was raining in practice in the initial first practice session, so we had to move through until practice 2 to get any real kind of meaningful running around in the car. But honestly, at this stage of the championship, I'm not too bothered about doing too much practice laps and getting, you know, it's not a big deal for me, because, you know, we're only 2 episodes away and we're looking pretty damn comfortable, about 40 odd points ahead of Sergio Perez, I think, if I remember correctly. So even if Perez does gain a load of points on us this race, I think we should be good. But we can technically once again wrap up the championship this race. That's going to be tough because, as was pretty clear from last episode of the Mexican Grand Prix, if you haven't seen that, by the way, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But it was very clear for Mexico that the car has gone backwards. Me and Hamilton have both definitely been bottlenecked a little bit by the performance of the car. That coupled with Force India and Red Bull going a little bit forward, and even Ferrari actually. So I don't think we'll have a good opportunity to maybe wrap up the championship here. We're just hoping to kind of limit the damage and make sure we don't throw away the championship right at the end. You know, we've done so much good groundwork at the beginning of this season that I don't want to chuck it away. So we're into qualifying. Then the first flying lap was actually pretty piss poor actually. We're down in P14 at the moment there, so not a very lightning first lap. And you can see clearly gaining a lot of time on the second flying lap as we climb up the hill though. Made a little bit of mistake as we ended sector 2, so that kind of reduced the gap we're going to get. It was, we were going to gain 9 tenths. It's now going to be around 6 or 7 there as we cross the line. It's up into P5, so just behind Sebastian Vettel, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. By the end of the session though, it's going to be that, well, familiar P7 slot for us. So I promise I'm not on purpose trying to get P7. It just appears to be my very, you know, consistent, like a Nico Hulkenberg style grid slot for now. You can see there, Hamilton did a really great job actually. Fair play to him to be up into P2. You can clearly see actually on that front row, looks like Verstappen's taking that slot. So I think, as I said and alluded to, I think Hamilton may have taken a penalty. So before we get into this race, we'll go towards the full grid and see about the penalties, because it looks like Ricciardo's down in P15 there. You can clearly see by the opening cinematic. So definitely some penalties to contend with there. So we might be up a few positions. But, you know, 2 races to go. Let's just go out with a bang and try to do the best job we can. But as I said, let's go to the full grid before we get into the race.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Esteban Ocon lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, and a Mercedes, Hulkenberg, Alonso, Massa, and Jolyon Palmer, Kvyat, Hamilton, Kevin Magnussen, and Sainz, Grosjean, Van Dorn, Lance Stroll, and Daniel Ricciardo. Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So like I said, Hamilton and Ricciardo both have been slapped with some engine penalties, clearly. So although I might be able to get to the end of the season without having to take any penalties, my teammate has not been able to do the same. Of course, he's had a few kind of off races, so I guess he's maybe worn out his engine a little bit more to get back into things in previous altercations. But looking ahead then to the race strategy, it's going to be all dry there. You can see just a little bit cloudy towards the second half of this race. But it's going to be a two-stop, two sets of super softs to the soft tyres. I think that's probably going to be our strategy today. I don't think, like previous seasons maybe, the one-stop using mediums will be the best option for us, because I just don't think we'll have enough pace on the mediums there, especially with the car, how the car's been performing. So let's get into this then as we go to 5 red lights. Round number 19 of Season 7. The Brazilian Grand Prix is underway, 36 laps ahead of us. It's a poor start compared to Nico Hülkenberg, our former teammate from Renault, with a lightning getaway, but then into turn 1, unable to make that into anything. As we go through into turn 2, he gets ahead of us, but he hasn't carried forward that momentum that he had in the initial phase there, so we'll be able to swing back through and get the slipstream and re-overtake him, hopefully. Meanwhile, the two Ferraris go toe-to-toe ahead. Obviously, the two Force Indias looks like, it looks like the Force Indias are neck and neck as well, and it's Max Verstappen who's made a great start, and he's up into first place from second, so bad getaway then for the pole man. Meanwhile, Vettel being squeezed out by Kimi Raikkonen. We get very close to his rear end. They're unable to make anything work around the outside. You can see I try to have a little look, doesn't work out, and actually in the end of it hinders me, and I have to go defensive on Hülkenberg and go very aggressive on him to defend, and that means Fernando Alonso, actually quite surprisingly, in the McLaren Honda, is up there in P7. So although I've talked a lot previously about the AI not really upgrading that much, you can see slowly the McLarens have been improving throughout the entire 7 seasons of been doing this career mode. But of course, because I've never driven for them as a player, they haven't had that exponential jump that Renault, Force India, Red Bull have had throughout this last few seasons here. But now you can see now on towards lap 2, really gaining on Vettel. Down the inside we go, lock up on the left front, little bit of argy-bargy contact made. We're going to make the switchback move there on Vettel as he cuts to the left. I go to the right hand side. On the outside now, the swing through onto the first main straight, and no DRS obviously activated quite yet because it's not lap 3, lap 2, but we've made the pass anyway. And you can see what I meant by the fuel efficiency is going to hopefully help us, because we gained so much there on that run up the hill and down the main pit straight on Vettel as we went on to lap 2. We were so far back and we gained on him so much there, so hopefully that fuel efficiency will allow us to keep this car in rich mix for most of this race. Meanwhile, for the front of the race, for the lead, it's Verstappen battling Esteban Ocon round the outside there. So Ocon did actually get it down the inside, did go around the outside for turn 1. Verstappen then dived back down his inside, didn't quite work out though, as a little bit of damage was made. And then actually behind him is Sergio Perez also overtaking him down that first straight. So it's a 1-2 now for Force India. So just like that, in a split second, in just half a lap, the Force Indias crank up the pressure and are back into controlling this race. And now Sergio Perez battles his teammate Esteban Ocon, and it looks like Ocon is going to, unfortunately for him, going to have to give up the lead, and it's going to be Perez once again back into the driving seat. And we've seen that a few times now this season. He's been dominating races as soon as he gets into the control of that. And obviously for us now down in P5, it's not going to be a disaster for us, but that's a lot of points Perez could be getting on us. But let's kind of get away from that and just focus on the racing first and foremost, and then we'll worry about the points later on. So now we're on lap 5 on towards lap 6, and we're closing up now on Max Verstappen, who's been going backwards and backwards in this race since he had to give up the place for the lead of this Grand Prix. We're a little bit hot into turn 1, lock up on the left front, trying to rotate the car through, but Verstappen on the outside, contact made, and Verstappen trying to get the elbows out, and he has done so, and he's got his car ahead for now. But on the outside, like we did with Vettel, just keeping it on the right hand side, we're going to have the better speed, straight line speed obviously versus the Red Bull car. Rich mix going there, and on lap 6 we are finally up into P4 after a little bit of a tangle with Max. And so now we'll try our best to chase after Raikkonen, but you can see on lap 9 not really possible. He kind of really just waltzed away from us, and so at the moment I'm kind of looking more backwards than I am forwards, as we've got Verstappen right on our tail. Behind him, I think, as well, is Vettel, not too far away, and Verstappen is on the inside there. Proximity arrow going red, so he had his nose in, but into turn 1 we do get the car turned into the apex somewhat, missing it a little bit. And now I look behind me, and there is Vettel. So out of nowhere, I think Verstappen made a little bit of a mistake, I think, into turn turn 1, and Vettel's able to get him, and so now Vettel will be the one trying to attack us. He's on the right, we go defensive on the inside, break it a little bit too late as we go deep into the corner. Vettel trying to maybe switch it to the inside line, doesn't work out for him. As I look behind me, he's still chasing, but unable to make anything work, and then on to the next end of the lap, pretty much, lap 10, on towards lap 11, we'll come in for our first pit stop then, onto a set of super soft tyres. I think we've also got, Vettel and Verstappen also in with us, and also the Renault. I think also have Nico Hulkenberg, I want to say. I think that is, so I think Vettel's on soft tyres, Verstappen's joined us on the super soft, so Vettel trying, I would say the 2-stop, but just trying a bit of a difference of the way he's doing the tyre strategy, and then Verstappen I think would be copying our strategy onto super softs, and then it looks like Hulkenberg also on supers, so confirmation there that I think a lot of these AI cars are going to be doing that 2-stop. I'll be surprised if a lot of them do the 3-stop. I think 2 is just the general way to go. But anyway, we've got some work to do now because we're in P12. And so we've got quite a lot of cars still going out. I'm surprised Stroll here on Supersofts is still out on lap 11. And then I think a few cars down below start on soft tyres, obviously, like the likes of my teammate, Hamilton, Ricciardo, you would imagine. Both those guys with faster cars are probably going to be going long in this Grand Prix. So potentially some traffic to get through, and definitely Stroll, a bit of traffic there. Kind of annoying, actually, that he came in straight away, because he was there that entire sector 2, just giving me dirty air, and then he just comes in straight away. So I don't even get any satisfaction of him overtaking, but that's the way it kind of goes. But we'll get some action now as we move on to lap 15, now closing up on Stoffel Van Dorn in a McLaren Honda. So the second one we've seen this afternoon, he's up here in quite lofty heights actually, but obviously going long on the soft tyres that he's probably been on since the start of this Grand Prix. And so through the first few turns, just going to be patient, open DRS, rich mix going. He's on the inside in the middle of the circuit. We go to the right, and it's going to be pretty much the racing line to overtake him in a straight line, and so that's nice and easy. And so a bit of a clean air ahead of us to try and chase after Raikkonen, who now is no longer there. It's now Carlos Sainz, because Raikkonen's overtaken this first Toro Rosso, and I think there's a second Toro Rosso, Danica Fiat, the Russian, ahead of Kimi as well. So me and Kimi both kind of navigating some traffic here. Meanwhile, I think the Force Indias unfortunately have the luxury of being out there in clean air, as they're that dominant at the moment. So like I was kind of saying at the end of last episode, the Force Indies have come so strong, and it's kind of really funny to see it's exactly like it was in Season 5 when I was driving for them, like just randomly. I mean, they were never this strong at the start of this season. They've just kind of come out of nowhere for the last kind of couple episodes and been so dominant. As we come down the pit lane now for our second and final pit stop now onto soft tyres. We've gone as long as we can, so we've only got about 12-ish, 13 laps left of this Grand Prix now, so that should be pretty comfortable to get to the end of this Grand Prix. We've stretched the super soft tyres, I think 1 lap longer or 2 laps longer than our first stint, so we did some good work there. But as we come out in the pit lane now, we've got Daniel Ricciardo there out of nowhere, coming back into this Grand Prix, into this fold. He's on medium tyres, so obviously Danny Rick was down in P15, remember, at the start of this Grand Prix, so he's done a 1-stop, and he's had some decent pace to actually be up here, and so he's going to the end of this Grand Prix now, so we have to try and legitimately overtake him. And actually, thank you very much, Danny, I speak about that, he's helped us out massively, so probably struggling with tyre wear there, so he locks up into turn 1 and helps us out. But now look at this, Hamilton now has come out ahead of us, so we have to overtake him straight away, get some slipstream there, and overtake him quite swiftly into P7. But, fair play, Hamilton and Ricciardo have done some amazing work to be there, and to be, in Hamilton's case, only for a brief few seconds, to be ahead of us on a 1-stop. So, good stuff there. Looks like Hamilton tried a contra strategy, medium to soft, rather than Ricciardo trying soft to medium. And so now we're going to try and navigate one last bit of traffic, which is Danica Fiat on the medium tyres. You can see clearly in Sector 2 the dirty air kicking in, and I'm unable to really close right up to his gearbox, but just being patient, and we'll hopefully get this as we go through the final few corners and we climb up the hill. Then we'll have rich mix, we'll have DRS as well, and so as we climb up towards what would be lap 25, once we cross the line on the outside, getting a little bit close for comfort there, but we'll eventually get it, and we're up into P6, and Sebastian Vettel on super soft tyres up ahead will eventually come in, I would hope, and yes he does, straight away, and we're up into P5 now. But on the top left now you can see Jolyon Palmer is there on medium tyres, and so that would allude to Jolyon Palmer is doing a 1-stop. So out of nowhere I've lost 1 position, because Palmer, although he's on mediums, and we overtook Hamilton, Ricciardo were on that same strategy, the difference is Palmer nowhere to be seen. I'm actually looking behind me at Hamilton now, who's kind of speeding up a little bit on those fresh set of soft tyres, and obviously one or two laps fresher than mine. and so I'm rather looking backwards than forwards. And you can see in the mini-map, Palmer is nowhere to be seen, so once again, I have to say the words, Julian Palmer has actually done really well in this Grand Prix, and looks like he's also causing Raikkonen some issues, because Raikkonen on Supersofts now is having to try and push hard to maybe re-overtake him, and meanwhile, I'm fighting Hamilton now. He's on the outside into turn 1, to turn 2 as well. We cut back in and try and get the better exit through the center S's, and now we're going to open up the DRS, rich mix going, and we're going to the inside now as Hamilton defends on the middle of the circuit. We're going to cut back across the racing line into the brake zone, the end of sector 1, and get back ahead of Hamilton. And so unfortunately, I think this may be the maximum position I'm looking at in this Grand Prix. And as we go a few laps later into this race, lap 30, so 6 laps to go, you can clearly see struggling with a bit of traction on the exit of turn 2. Still in P5, Hamilton still there behind us, but Vettel is closing up to him, as both of us haven't been able to get away from that Ferrari car, so he may cause us some issues right at the end of this Grand Prix. Up ahead though, you can see now on the top left, Palmer is now back to P4, so Raikkonen, unlike me, has had the pace. Obviously he did an extra pit stop onto super soft tyres, so Raikkonen did in the end actually do a bit more of an aggressive strategy than I was thinking he would be doing, but he's got ahead of Palmer. And then also meanwhile now on the top left now, you can see Vettel's the one behind us, not Hamilton, so it looks like Vettel overtook Hamilton up the hill on the right-hander into the heart of sector 2, and now onto lap 34, 4 laps later, you can clearly see battling with some more engine wear, just like last race. Even though I put a different power unit, a different internal combustion engine into the back of this car, just getting up with that 50% wear level now is making that internal combustion yellow, so that also may be partly the reason why I'm unable to kind of pull away from Sebastian Vettel, and why he's able to kind of close up. Also the fact he's on super soft, remember, and I'm on soft tyres. And as we look behind us now a bit nervously with just about over 1.5 laps to go, Vettel is there, so we have to make sure we don't bottle this onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, and so we do that into the last couple of corners. But it is going to be Sergio Perez that has won the Brazilian Grand Prix, so fair play to him, and so that's going to be 25 points, and we're going to get 10 points for P5, so that's going to be a whopping 15 that Perez is going to get on us. So it's going to be close going into this last round. I think it's going to be tricky in terms of we have to make sure we get a little bit higher than maybe P5 in Abu Dhabi if Perez ends up winning the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But all round, tricky to call how that Grand Prix went, because obviously with Hamilton, with that engine penalty, he started P2, so he could have had a much better race. So I think it's a tough one really for us versus the AI around Brazil. They just had a bit too much pace in me, especially the likes of Palmer with that one stop that he managed to pull off. Good stuff for him. But the Force India's once again dominant as ever. But as we go on towards the Drivers' Championship, you can see what I meant by that gap that now Perez has closed up now. It means that if it was to finish like this in Abu Dhabi, Perez winning and me in P5, Perez would actually take the lead of the championship. So a little bit of nervous times actually into the last race of the season. Next episode, Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We have to make sure we don't have a repeat of this. We need to be at least P4 if Perez is going to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So we need to try and turn up a little bit more than we have done for this race, but we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But either way, guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly follow-on content. Before we round it out, just a confirmation here, we definitely aren't getting a contract from Ferrari because team approval is rock bottom. Now, actually, more importantly, we actually improved a bit more on Red Bull than we did Ferrari, but I think that ship sailed a couple episodes ago. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.